Hi, I'm going to try to show you the grade book that I've come up with in my own brain, and bear with me, it doesn't make sense to everyone I know, but it's a really good place for you to start to try to keep track of things. In the beginning, I had a notebook that had a page for each kid in my notebook, and the page for each kid looked a lot like this. It was kind of a progressive snapshot of where each kid was over each week. And I kind of just printed this information right here out that you can see on the screen. And I carried that with me everywhere I went. And I would go to Compass and I would write down their percentages and the grade. And then I would go into Study Island. And I did each kid one at a time, and it probably took me an hour and a half to get all this put down in my notebook. And from that notebook, then I had to go to Epicenter and input all that information. And I thought, this is ridiculous, because if I'm not at home, which you know as an EPIC teacher, we're not home a lot, I have this notebook and a laptop and pens and pencils, and it's spread out all over the car, and I cannot... Things are falling. You understand. You're with me. So I thought there's got to be an easier way to do this. So this gradebook was kind of an evolution from that to make my life easier. Now all I need is a computer and I can do my grades wherever I want to go. And I will kind of show you what I do. Everything in this for my grades comes from this sheet right here. So each week I will go into Reading Eggs, and I will go into my teacher screen. I no longer need to log in as each kid. I go to my teacher screen, and let's give this kid some data for last week, because I will put this in here and it's going to stay every week. You know, it will still be here when I come back. This page will, so I can compare it. So I'm going to make him some data up for last week, and I'll kind of show you what I do each week. And I'm just making this up. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would log into Reading Eggs. Now, I do something as the semester progresses. If a kid does not have the Reading Eggs or Math Seeds, I will fill their spaces in black for me, and then I know not to be looking at them. It just saves you trouble, but you can just leave it blank or whatever. So I log into Reading Eggs, and let's say this week, this kid was on lesson number 26. Well, last week he was on 23, so I'll change this to a 26, and that tells me he did 3 lessons this week. I would go down this whole column for everyone that had Reading Eggs while I was in Reading Eggs and update it. For Math Seeds, I would open Math Seeds. Now, let's say I look at this kid and he's on lesson 22. Well, that's exactly where he was last week. So I know he did 0 Math Seeds lessons. Let's say he was on lesson 32. Well, that means he really worked hard. He must have found something that he really enjoyed, so he did 10 lessons. Okay, and so on. I don't really want the 10 in there right now because it's going to make something else look funny, and I'll explain that to you in just a second. I go into Myon, and I go to the total minutes read, and I sort it by kid. Over here, I keep these in alphabetical order because it makes my job easier when I'm putting in grades. That was something else I learned. I would add new kids at the bottom because I didn't know that Google Sheets was going to keep track of it for me. I was afraid it would mess it up. It doesn't. And I'll show you how to add a new kid. So I go into his Myon, and let's say he read for 22 minutes. Well, I'm going to be talking to him because, no, you're supposed to read a minimum of so much each week in Myon, depending on how old you are. This kid's probably an hour and a half he's supposed to be reading, And you don't want to put that in as 1.5. No. Always put that in as minutes. So let's say he read 1 hour and 12 minutes. So I would put in a 72. And I look at his My On Quiz score. You know, if he's getting a 30% on every quiz, that tells me he's not reading. So it's a really good snapshot here of what your kid's doing at home. But let's say he got an 85. Put that in as a decimal because you need it as a, see right here at the top, My On Quiz decimal. I remind myself of that every week. Don't just enter the whole number 85 because your sheet's going to make it look like his grade is 2,000 instead of 1,000 instead of 100 and so forth. Okay, so spelling classroom, it doesn't really figure in. I just look to make sure that they did something. They're supposed to do 1 lesson a week. It doesn't really figure into their grade. It's just did they do it or not. So if I look and he was still on lesson 2, then I know he hasn't done a spelling classroom, and I'll be reaching out to that kid. Let's say this week he was on 3. That's great. That number should go up by 1 each week. I'm happy. So success maker, total minutes. So if they worked for 2 hours, that would be 120. So you put it in minutes. I do. You can set your sheet up however you want, and I'll show you how to do it. Now I would go into Study Island. You can go to your blue ribbon report, like I think it's in the gradebook format, and you can go by grade. Sometimes I think it's easier just to log into Study Island as the kid because the cookies, it remembers their password after the first time anyway. And right on the home screen of Study Island, you can point to those blue bars, and you know this. So to me, the gradebook blue ribbon report is harder to read than just logging in as each kid. But I'm going to look at his total ribbons. Let's say he still has this week 2 math ribbons. Well, I can look right here and say, we haven't done anything. What's going on in math? You know, it should be increasing every week. These numbers should be increasing. But by having last week's right in front of me when I input these grades, I can usually what I will have open is an email, and I will come over to this email. I'm just going to make this be to myself in case I accidentally send it. Every kid gets a weekly email from me, and it goes to the parents and everything. So, and it's always subjected with that same subject so that they know where to look for it. And I usually put the date after it. That way they can tell which one they need to be looking at. And I explain this to them up front. You know, search in your inbox for weekly. It always has the exact same subject. Look at the most recent date, and you'll be looking at the most recent thing. Because these kids do end up getting a lot of email. And if you notice, many of them have subscription emails. So some of their inboxes have thousands of messages in them. And it's hard for them to find email, so I teach them right up front. Search for weekly every week. There's your email from me. And so I might say, I'm going to put myself a note right here, right now that says math ribbons, still at 2. Now I'm not going to send that to that kid, but I want me some notes right here as I'm putting in grades because I don't want to forget to mention it. Okay, so finish all through that. Now, homework help, Dreambox. Like go in Dreambox, how many minutes? Put it in minutes. Homework help is a lot like reading eggs and math seeds. You get the report, and this is what I look at each week, and I'll show you. Go ahead and just get rid of that one. I keep my homework help reports in a folder. Somewhere. And you get the one that tells you their total. That's really what I'm going to look at. Not that one, just kidding. This one. And it's in alphabetical order. Look right here, total number of sessions. That's all I care about right there. So let's say this kid, 16 was his total when I looked this week. They send you this updated report each week. So let's say last week he had 15, and I go down that report. You know, you can shrink it, get 2 windows. So this week he's on 16. That means he did 1 homework help session this week. Not what I'd love to see for a middle schooler, but at least he was using it. Okay. Now, the second thing I do is I'll go to this one other sheet, and I will go into his Compass. I found that it's easier just to log in as the kid, go to Gradebook, and you can enter these categories real quick. So let's say his English grade is an 87, and he's 22% complete. Let me put some numbers in here real quick for last week. So this week when I come in, last week's is obviously still going to be sitting here. So as I'm looking at this, I'm going to be able to tell right off the bat how much work was done in Compass. Pretty much you can look here and see if they're on pace. So let's say this week his grade is probably not going to change a whole lot, 88. And let's say his percentage went to 23. He didn't work a whole lot in English. That tells me that. I would go over to the email and make myself a note. 1% in English, something's wrong. Math, let's say this now is a 75 with a 25. Okay, he worked in math. All right, he's probably spent a lot of time here. Maybe that excuses the English, but you can see the point. And I'll tell you another thing I do. If the grade was a 50, there would be no way on earth I would put that grade there. I would always just put a minimum of a 60. That's just my personal opinion. I don't ever put an F in. The lowest thing you're going to get is a 60 unless you're at 0% complete. Okay, if you're at 0% complete, then yeah, you maybe. I don't know. It depends on what the situation. You guys all know this. So there would be what we would do each week. So that's the 2 sheets I input grades on. That's it. Compass and Play-Doh takes a little bit longer because you have to log in as each kid, because that grade book for me is just too hard to read. So just log in as kid, enter the 4 subjects. So easy. That's like 5 minutes. The supplementals you're probably looking at on the screen, 10 minutes. So in 15 minutes, I have every bit of data entered for my kids. Now let me show you what happens to that. Oh, second thing I'm going to do is each grade, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, high school, all of those have a sheet in my grade book, and that is where I keep track of ribbons. And I have it separated by grade because either I'm doing a class, a study island test, and I can just click on the grade and get your ribbon score in real fast, or I'm doing the blue ribbon report by grade, and I can enter all my 3rd graders, and then all my 4th graders, and so on. But this information also copies somewhere else. So all my ribbons are entered right here. So this student that we've been looking at is actually, next year, he's going to be a 5th grader, I think. Yep. And so here's his column. He's column C. Now I shrink that because I know who the kid is, but you can always make it bigger. Every time you type that kid's name anywhere, put the ID number with it. I learned that the hard way. I was having to leave these screens and go look for ID numbers. Because inevitably I'll get here and I'll think, I'm pretty sure Brendan did this one in class, and I failed to get the grade. So pop over to Study Island, log in as Brendan. It's a lot faster, but I need his ID number. So it's really helpful to have it right there. And if you just click the square, look, there's the whole thing. There's his login information for me. On this sheet, I'll show you when you get a new student. At the bottom of each column, if you look right here on Social Studies, there's a running total of points, the total number assigned to that student, the number they have completed. At this point, I have to enter that, but I'm researching a way for it to count up everything that isn't blank or a 0, so I don't have to count that each week. And I will change that when I figure it out. You'll get if you use the link to this gradebook, you'll have it updated. The percent complete, so that says the total that they've done, and it divides it by the total number of ribbons. So N21 is in shouldn't be in 21. It should be in 8. No, there it is. Sorry. I was reading the week. In 21. So here's row 21. Here's column N. So it takes the number complete and it divides it by 15 because there are 15 ribbons. I like to know the percentage complete in Study Island each week because it helps us in Epicenter if they're, on pace or not. So each subject has this little calculation at the very bottom. See that? See that? Now let's give this kid some grades. Let's say I told him to do this one and he's not done yet. So we have a 0. Enter the 0 because if you were in school and you had some homework due and you didn't do it, that 0 would go in the teacher's grade book. And so I'll enter him some ribbon scores here. And let's do him this one. Maybe he's really good at science. Now, his ribbons are entered. His supplementals are all entered. And his curriculum is all entered. One more sheet that you will see right here, which is you never have to enter anything on this sheet because it pulls from the curriculum and the supplemental sheet already. So Brendan has already got some grades calculated because I input data. I put some numbers in. These numbers right here, okay, so reading eggs, he's supposed to do 4 lessons a week. He did 3, if I'm not mistaken. It already calculates. His grade is a 75 because he didn't do the required number of lessons. Remember, I put in that he did 3. His Myon, he was supposed to read 120 minutes. Look right here. He didn't. He didn't read that much. I think we put 90 in. So his grade is a little lower because he didn't do all he was supposed to do. And it multiplies by his quiz score. So he's got a 51 in Myon. You can change that if you want. You don't have to even include the quiz score. You could delete this part of the formula. Totally up to you. This is just what I do. Success Maker, he has a 94%. I think he read 60 minutes, but he's supposed to do 80 minutes a week. And Success Maker, again in math, 80. So there's that grade. He did 120, I think. So look, he has 113% for that one. Math Seeds grade, he was supposed to do 4 lessons. He did 3, so he has a 75. And you can look right up here what it's dividing by. That's what I require personally. Dreambox are supposed to work 120 minutes, and he didn't. I think I put a 90 in, so it's a 75%. All of this calculates automatically when you key these numbers in on this sheet. Remember, it took me about 15 minutes to get every kid in, and as soon as all that's keyed in, this sheet and the grade percent sheet, this sheet is automatically done, and I have an English and a math grade for the kids. Also a science and a social studies. The science and the social studies is just going to come right from the curriculum grade. So, and I'll show you how to get that in, and I'll show you how to drag it down. It's not there yet on purpose. I want to show you how to change stuff on this sheet. Now, English grade, if you look at how I'm calculating it, it's column G, H, and I, plus the English grade from the curriculum grade percent sheet. And I add all those up and divide it by 4. So everything's equal. Each supplemental is equal. Then if you look at the math grade, the way I do it is J6, so it's Success Maker Math, plus O6, so there's Math Seeds, plus Q6, Dreambox, plus his math grade on the other side. Now, let's say this kid came in late and he doesn't have Math Seeds. So all you need to do is delete this 06 right here, take that out, and then divide it by 3, and it won't be punishing him for not having Math Seeds. And see, you always get this warning because I don't want to be messing up this sheet by accident, so I turned this warning on. You can turn yours off. Now, it's not going to punish him any longer for that Math Seeds being missing in case, it was a late one. So I'm just going to undo. Oops. Let's redo that. I don't know what I undid. All right, let's go back over to that. I wanted to undo that because I don't want to have to fix this sheet after this video. Oh, move. Scroll, please. Oh, I'm already scrolled. Duh. All right, back to this sheet now. Science. So, there's nothing in there and I want it. And you notice I color-coded all the reading is yellow, all the math is green. That's just something I thought I might use. I haven't yet, but whatever, I might someday. So, to get something in this box, push your equal sign. And now I want the science grade to come from this sheet. So, I'm going to click the sheet. And I'm going to go to this kid's science. Here's its grade. You can multiply it by something if you want. Hit enter and it will pop it in there. I'm going to turn this off for 5 minutes. There you go. Now, social studies, let's do equal sign. Curriculum. Social studies grade is right here. Brennan is in row 6, and I may have clicked the wrong science grade. No, I got it. So look right here. He's row 6, F6. See that? And his social studies is also row 6. That's a really easy way to fix your sheet. So I want you to take a note right here of the names. So I have Brendan, Gabby, Odin, all these kids, and go over to your curriculum sheet. They're the exact same names because they all copy from the supplemental score sheet. That makes my life easier when I add a new kid because watch what I'm about to do. Highlight these two cells and I'm going to drag this box all the way down. And now what it has done is it's copied that formula. So Gabby is in row 7. Look at the top. I've got row 7. It's going to pull Gabby's grade automatically. So let me just prove to you that that's going to work. Let me enter some science grades. So we got a 20. I don't know why I'm being so mean to these kids today, giving them these bad grades. But there we go. Oh, that was a good grade. Now let's go back to the PK through 8 and see all those science grades now have popped over for me. You just have to enter one kid's formula and drag it down. If you keep them in the same order, that's something I've learned. So, what do you do when you get a new kid? All right, let's just say that we're going to get John Doe. Well, do not enter name. It comes from supplemental. That tells me I better go to the supplemental sheet. But John Doe is going to go in between C and E. So I'm going to insert a row. So click there, right click, insert one above. Doe is going to be right in that spot, right? Doe, John, and always put that kid's ID number every time you type the name. Okay, you have to insert this row for John on the other two sheets. So I know he's going to go between C and E, so click that right there, right click, insert one above. Now it hasn't popped in yet. I'll show you how to get it there. Click that row right there, insert one above. Now how did we fix the formula for the other one? Well, we need a whole row of formulas to be fixed, and we now need the whole column to be adjusted because something might have messed up. Look at there. Highlight the whole row. Drag the whole thing down. It's thinking. I did not. Look at there. John Doe has popped in. And everybody's grades are right. And now his formulas are copied as well. I'm done. I've got John Doe in. All I need to do is enter John Doe's supplemental scores now when he's completed some work. This is also a really good way when you, now nothing out here copies, so I don't need to highlight it and drag it. I just need the names to be copied because those are formulas. Okay. This is really good because if John Doe's added, I may forget about John Doe, and when I come back in, I'm like, who's John Doe? You know, oh, well, that's that kid you got last week. Oh my gosh, okay. But if he's done 0 compass work, I'm like, okay, why has he not worked at all? Why do I need to be calling him, telling him to get started? What is going on? Let's reach out. All right. Now, let's say John Doe was in, let me get back on track. Let's go to the grade sheet and let me show you what happens with this kid. So this is the actual sheet that populates for him. I'm going to try to shrink this so you can see a little more. Now, right in the beginning, I teach my parents what these words here mean. You see all those words out there? I teach them in the beginning. You're going to get this filled in for each week, and the first number is the percent complete, then a slash, and then the second number is the grade. Here's the key to it right here, percent complete slash grade. That is very hard to do because Sheets thinks that that slash is a division. But if you look in the cell, click it, there's the format in which you put it to make it not divide. And the key is this and quotation, space slash space and quotation. That thing right in the middle keeps it from dividing these two numbers, and it will just write it as a slash for me. This populates automatically when I insert the curriculum grades for this kid. You see how that says this week? That's what's going on right now. Now you cannot copy this over to these cells because it's going to change every week. So each grade sheet has this little chart, it's only this week, that populates automatically. So as Study Island Math Ribbons, it popped in as soon as I entered it in the supplementals. There it is, there it is. You cannot copy this and paste it on the week. You cannot do that because it's going to change next week. I don't want this out here to change because for week 1, I need it to be exactly what it was in week 1. And then when I come to enter week 2, I need to be able to compare this column to what it was last week. So remember, on the supplemental score sheet on the curriculum grade / percent sheet, I am over typing what was there last week. So it's a new snapshot that automatically comes here, but I do not want this information to ever change. So this is what I do. And this takes no time at all. So I will, if this was week, let me just put him some fake stuff in from last week. I'm just going to use that whole thing. I'm just going to make all of his percentages be that. And you can keep the grades if you want. I just put that in there, and to tell you the truth, it's really hard to keep those because if you do any copies and paste, the color goes away and it's frustrating. So whatever you want to do with that. 15. Okay. Whenever I type one in, I go ahead and make it be a bigger font so that the parent can read it easier, and me with my old eyes. I want this key to be small, otherwise this screen is huge, and I want to be able to see it on one screen. So let's just say this is the second week of the quarter, and I come in here, and now I need to get these grades over in the progress report section. So I'm just going to click in the top cell, and I am looking at this column, and I'm going to type it in. 2 seconds per kid, seriously, maybe 5 seconds. So 23/88, 25/75. I'm on my computer that does not have a number pad, so bear with me. I'm going to be a little slower. It might take me 15 seconds for this kid. 20/60. And then 3366 72.85. You notice this column on the left matches exactly where I'm typing from. Another lesson I learned early on. Now, So go ahead and bold them. Make them bigger for the parent. You don't have to do that. That's what I do. Now the parent can look at week 2, compare it to week 1. Look what's been going on. Okay, yep, we worked in English. We worked in that. We worked in that. We worked in that. That's great. Look here, we got 2 ribbons, 1 ribbon, 4 ribbons. Rocking it out in English. Look at the Myons. Somebody did what they were supposed to do. Quiz came up. Reading eggs, they were on 22. That doesn't match, but you know what, it would have had it been real data. Yep, they did a spelling classroom lesson. I didn't enter any Prodigy, and I forgot to enter this ones at the bottom because I didn't see it, but you get the point. You have to type in manually these columns here each week, but just pull it from this because this automatically comes from that one sheet. You're not going back and forth between sheets, screens, and pages. Okay? And it all comes right here. Teach your parents how to read this. It's really easy, and I'll show you a couple more things I do with it. Alright, so at the bottom, this automatically populates for me. This automatically populates from that 3rd grade, 5th grade ribbons. Remember we entered him some scores? This automatically came from there. As soon as I entered it, at the bottom of his grade sheet, it populated. I put this here because when I get to Brendan's sheet, I want to know, maybe I don't remember, maybe we had City Island testing two minutes ago and I've already forgot. How many ribbons was he supposed to do? Blah, blah, blah. I just found out that it was so much easier on me if I had his ribbon snapshot down here at the bottom so I could just scroll down real easily. And you can just look right here at the bottom. Now, this, so a Study Island Math, the number complete, it comes from below in this sheet, C65. So it comes from right here, C65, which came from the 5th grade ribbons chart. So it copies to here, and then I copy it from right above. Now I can copy it from that other chart, but I'll show you why I don't, because it makes more work for me when I set up a new student. It's so much easier to do it from right below, and I'll show you why, because I'll show you how to put a new kid in. Then I type this from my Study Island. So math, 0 complete, 2 assigned, 0%, and a grade of a 50. So I'm going up here to Study Island Math. Look here. Number complete, number assigned, percent complete, grade. So really, I'm going to say 0/2/0/50. That came from right below. You cannot make it pop up here by automatically because it's going to change every single week if you do a copy. You type it in manually. So Study Island Science, 0/2/0/100. I put the ribbons in there, and I'm sorry. I don't really want to keep track of just ribbons because you may have obtained 5 more ribbons, but if you're only at 5% and it's November, we got a problem, so I don't want it to be misleading. And if I told you to do 10 ribbons and you only did 5, I need Mama to know that. So the number assigned to you is important as well. So I give all this data, and I tell my parents in the beginning how to read it, so that they're not looking at this going, what on earth? Okay? I am typing this from right here. Okay? Another thing I've learned is if I'm clicked in that cell, I can scoot till that cell is completely off of my screen, because some of these kids' list goes beyond the screen. And I can start typing, and although I can't see the cell, I can still type what I see on the screen. See how it's blue up here? That's kind of showing me what I've been typing. And you can do that. You can type into a cell way up here off your screen while you're looking at something down here. Just because it's not there, your cursor's still in it, and you can still start typing. I was scrolling up and down until I figured that out. And then I thought, oh my gosh, what a dummy. Now, one other thing I have on this sheet for this kid in case I need it, and you'll know who you need this for pretty quick on, is a weekly schedule. So, on the weekly schedule, I'm not sure what that is. I would tell them, all right, this is exactly what I need you to do on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. I would copy the lesson names from their pacing guide. And then when I come in and look next week, guess what? Right here is exactly what I told them to do. And I would put links to their classes right here in the schedule. Because what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to highlight it. Look what's right below it. It's all of his login information and his links. He's going to get it every week. You may not need to do this with every kid. You'll figure out who you need to do it with pretty quick though. Control-C it. Go to the email. And it's, again, I always have this in the same email. They get one email from me each week. Weekly email. May 1st. And for my own purposes, because I want to know, I need to be able to search by kid. I put the name there. Control-V, paste in his weekly schedule. It's right there in his email. You know what you told him to do. He's got it. He can read it. And I can look real easily. Now, next week comes around, and I'm looking at what this kid's doing, and I can easily go into his Compass, and I can say, well, wait a minute. You did Wednesday's assignment? You didn't do Thursday, Friday, Monday, or Tuesday. What is going on? Another thing you'll notice here in this schedule that I thought was helpful is all your Compass, one assignment. All your Study Island, one assignment. All of your supplementals, one assignment. Homework help, one assignment. And you can tell them how many sessions to do a week. You can split these assignments up either way you want, and I may change that for this year, but point being, they don't get a gradable assignment for everything they do in English. So this section would not be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gradable assignments, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No. If you complete everything you're supposed to do on this section in Compass, you get one gradable assignment for that. And I need them to know that right there in the schedule because they need to understand gradable assignments is their attendance, and they need to make sure that they are not truant. Okay, so covered all of that. And let's look right up here. One thing that I found very helpful to me was to copy and paste the IXL link. So I'll go into my map report and I will figure out where they need to start working in IXL. I don't just turn them loose in 5th grade IXL because if they need a 1st grade level work in number and properties according to their map test, that's where I want them to start. And of course I want them to start working in the lowest things they need, and then I'm really concerned with the biggest percentage on the test as well. So if this is a 5th grader, if he's on a 4th grade level in data and probability, I'm going to say that till last because it's a tiny portion of the test. Numbers and operations and algebraic reasoning, that's a big part of the test, and if he's on a 1st grade level there, we've got to get working. So you can actually go into IXL and you can highlight maybe. Wish me luck, but I can show you how to do this real quick. It's storming here and my internet is so slow. We've all been there. And of course, if I wasn't trying to make a video, the internet would be lightning fast. We all know this. Maybe we'll get there. Let's go, IXL. Okay, yes. So, at this point, I'm wondering what my password is. Because I cannot remember. It's not that one, is it? Oh, I think maybe I made it. There we go. Thank you, cookies. Love cookies. Oh, cookie didn't work. Okay, what did it say over here? Where's the password? P-A-5-5 word. I don't think that's it. But no. Did I mention I was using my old laptop? Oh my goodness. No. Let's try this one. I noticed there was a word at the chart there. Just sign me in, IXL, please. Bingo? Thank you. Bingo, bingo, bingo. What is my secret word? Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. I want y'all to quit laughing. I know someone's laughing. I have not been in my IXL ever on this computer. Stop laughing at me right now. I know you are. I can just hear the laughter. Charlotte doesn't remember her IXL. Oh my gosh, this is a nightmare. Well, let's do this. I'll be a student. Let's be a student. I won't be Miss Wood. Be a student. Back at you. Oh, some links, please. Okay, so, you know we're on learning. You go to math, and you pick the grade level, blah, 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 blah. Come on. And this comes from your map report, areas of concern. If you do it during a window, you get this nice little report that tells you exactly where they need to be working. And let's say that they are on, not that. I clicked the wrong thing. I gotta get my Oklahoma stuff first. Hey. How are you, buddy? Morning. Love you. Those t-shirts, you like them? Okay, this is not cooperating with me right now. I cannot get my Oklahoma standards to pop up here. Let's see. Let's go out here. I think I remember something about this. I put the /OK up there. I may have just showed you guys a trick. I remember I had asked IXL, where's my Oklahoma standards at one point. And you put a slash after it. You just went right back to the same thing. Standards Oklahoma math, there it is. So if you put standards / any state, you're going to get their stuff. There we go. So if you wanted Arkansas, Texas, or whatever, if you just change that right there, take the math off and you'll be just Oklahoma all together, because your kids may not have the Oklahoma link. All right, here we go. So this is a 5th grader, math, got math, 5th grade, we're in Oklahoma. Whew, took me a minute. It's been a while. So let's say on his map report it specifically said he needed to work in these right here. It's still loading. Highlight it, Control-C, just like that. I didn't want all of them. I just wanted those few links. Go back to his page. Now, as soon as you get a map report is when you do this. So I'm looking at IXL Math and Control-V. Paste those in there. You did not just get the words. You just got the link to give to the kid. So now, if I need him to do this link on Monday, Control-C, see that one link I'm giving him? I can put it right over here in his schedule for, if I have something for wherever you want to put it. Let's say I want to put it right there. There we go. Now, see how that extends past right here if you just choose that text wrap and cut it off? Now that kid has a link in his schedule to the IXL, exactly the one I want him to do. He doesn't have to search for a title, nothing. All he has to do is click that link, and it opens exactly to the one you want. There it is. He didn't have to pick his grade. He doesn't even necessarily need to know what grade it's on. They will figure out that that means 5 because some of them will have a 1 and a 2. So I will do an IXL session once a week with my kids, and I just call it IXL. They don't know that I'm building them up to grade level so much. But when I get their map test done, I go to their map report and I pick out what the map report says that they need in whatever grade, and I put it in the right order. So let's say they needed the solve roll numbers, whatever, and they just need those 3 at the top. Highlight them, Control C. You can even email it to the kid. Hey, I need you to go through these lessons by Friday. Whatever you want to do. But when I figured out I was actually copying a link from IXL, holy cow, I was happy. And then Control V. There are the links to that kid. So when they actually click that, it's going to take them to the exercise you want them to do. What a time saver. Love it. Okay. Enough with that. So that's why that's on the sheet. So on this kid's grade sheet, scoot over. I have, scoot over, a list on their grade sheet of the IXLs that they need to be doing. Right here. As they complete them, I can keep track, and then I'll know where they left off. I know what to give them next week. So that's what that was there for. Get rid of that. This poor kid's going to be so messed up on his grade sheet. Now, what are you doing to get a new kid? Alrighty. Let me show you. Depends on what grade they're in. Are they kinder to 2, 3rd through 8, or high school? Let's say they're 3rd through 8. So don't just start typing on this sheet. For crying out loud, you're actually typing on your template. So right click, duplicate, because this is John Doe's sheet. Now let's rename it. Right click, rename, Doe, John, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I got to type in all John Doe's information, and I would do that right here. John Doe, his address, put all this in out of Epicenter. Who is this counselor? Right there's your guide. His is going to be Chastity. Well, this year it might change, but put this in your template. You don't have to keep looking for it. Now his grade thing is set up, but his study island is still not. And these got to be fixed. So his study island, let's say John Doe is a 3rd grader. If you look at the bottom of this template, it has 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade. Everything is there, and that's on purpose because I don't want to have to go clicking back and forth through these sheets when I set up a new kid. So a 3rd grader, all I got to do is highlight. You cannot do this if it's frozen, and I see that double column. So I know something's frozen. Okay. For 3rd grade, we're going to highlight all of these. So I don't need the 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th, and 4th for the 3rd grader. All I want at the bottom is 3rd grade. This is a little overwhelming until you've done it a few times. Drag all the way to the bottom. Highlight all of that because it's meaningless for this kid. Right click, and what we're going to do is delete cells, and we're going to shift left. And then it's going to think for a minute because that was a lot to make it to do. Those are all Fuller formulas. And it's going to move all my 3rd grade over here to the left for me. It's still thinking. And there we go. Now, so here's his 3rd grade. They're only math and ELA, so I've learned early on to, instead of trying to shift these, I'm going to Control C that, pop it in right there. Then I'm going to delete the text in those. I don't want them anymore. And I'm just going to unfill it. And I also, I don't like all those extra grid lines. So I take them out. But then I also want the rest of these in. So I will have to go back. You may not care about the extra grid lines. It bugs me. So you take that big thing out, but then you got to put the edges back in. Okay, now, math, number complete. So go right here, equals. Go down to his math at the bottom, and I've got to fix his program, but we'll get that in a second. Click the number complete box, hit enter. Now I'm on the number assigned, equals. You're on math. See why I bring it over? Because otherwise I'd have to go to the 3rd grade sheet and find that cell and click it and then go back and forth scanning. But if I copy it to right here at the bottom when I set up a new kid, it is so easy. So equals, just scroll down and pick it. That's another reason why I copy everything from my ribbon sheet to the bottom of their grade sheet. Okay, for the English, number complete equals. Scroll down and we want the number complete in English. Now this is not quite accurate yet. It's okay. I know it's going to be in this box. So go ahead and click it because I kind of did this out of order, but we'll fix it in a second, I promise. So number assigned, I know that the total assigned is going to pop up right here. That other column of the week, that's your OAS week, equals, which is helpful because you can tell them I need you to go do this week. What am I on? Percent complete. So her percent complete is going to appear in her column. I do know there's something weird at the top. We will look at it. And then her Study Island grade is right there. Now, obviously there's a problem on the 3rd grade math and ELA sheet with that. We'll go look. And obviously this is not that kid. So we got to go to 3rd grade, to the grade sheet. So we're going to go to 3rd grade ribbons. You see, if I had not copied this sheet over to get her John Doe's percent complete and stuff, I have to go back and forth from his grade sheet to this one, grade sheet to that one to copy the cells. I'm just too lazy to do that. Now, we're going to put Doe, John, what I tell you about the ID. Every single time, put it in there. You never know where you're going to be sitting when you need to log in as this kid. Put it right there. Look what just happened. Boom. It's over there because I have this cell copied from here. I don't even want to have to type the name in more. Okay. Oh, now at the bottom, he's got his things figured. But something was wrong, I saw, because I had some extra numbers. So I'm looking here. This column looks fine. What's wrong with the English column? It looks fine. So probably something just needs to be adjusted on the sheet, and I'll show you how we're going to do it. But I want to make a mental note. John Doe is in column D for math, and he's in column J for English. Let's go back to John's sheet. So his math was D. Click right here in the cell. That's pulling from column C. So just change it to a D. His name should fix. Look at that. And for English, I already forgot what I said. English, John Doe is in column J. So we'll go back here. And English, I need that to be John Doe's column. So change that to a J. Now, remember how we fixed the columns. These two columns don't need to change. And these, I don't want to have to drag twice. This is always going to be the same. It's not going to change anyway. They are formulas, but when I drag this whole thing down, it's going to fix these two at the same time, and these aren't going to change anyway because they've already been dragged. So what I'm hoping is when I get to this weird spot right here, that it fixes it. And you need to drag way past the bottom. There we go. So it's just an error up here in one of these formulas. It hadn't been dragged down. Probably changed it from a math to an English at the top or whatever, and it didn't drag down. Now it's all fixed. Now let's see, did this come into the right? Looky there, popped up. I knew what cell it was going to be in. That's it. The new kid is set up. He's ready, except for these slashes over here. Now, once you get one of these set up, you're good to go. So I'm going to go, it's really hard to just type these in. I don't like it. But if I go over to, and I'll probably just put this template on my master because I just want to be able to change columns and rows on that one. I don't want to have to retype this whole formula because it's hard. You miss one space or one thing and it's done. So I'm going to take this because I want all those words, and I'm going to not get the equal sign. Okay, don't get the equal sign, just get everything else. Now go back to John Doe's sheet. This is a lot of setup for a new kid, but imagine the time it saves you every week doing your grades. So right here, I'm going to pop that in. Boom. Now, that is not his grades because it's pulling from row 6 on that sheet. Well, let me go to the sheet for curriculum grades percent. What row is John Doe? John Doe is row 7. Well, let's put in some grades to prove to ourselves. Oh, we only need English, that's what we're... So I need to pull row 7, not row 6. So all I got to do is 7 and 7, and it should fix it right over here in this weekly column. Look at there, there's the numbers. So it's a real easy fix, and his rows are going to be the same for every single one of these. Now, if you drag this down, Sheets thinks you're trying to drag down that cell over there, so this would be row C, and then this is going to be row D. Oops, no it didn't. It fixed it. No, row 8. It thinks the columns are the same, so you really don't want to drag down because you're not coming down on the sheet. You're not going vertical on the sheet. You're going to the right. So you're going to have to change the column and the row. And I believe it's E and D for math. So this would be E7, and this would be D7 to get his math grade in there. And there it is. And then G and F is your science, so it would be G7 and F7, just like that. So there you go. And I'm going to take those templates, these words, and get them into the blank one. And then that way all you need to do, if you decide to use this format, and then all I need to do all year long is just change the row number because my columns will be the same. Now, last thing I do with this, I used to highlight this whole thing each week and paste it into an email to the parent, and it was kind of their weekly snapshot. Because I couldn't share this grade book with the parent because I didn't want the parent to see all this other stuff, and I certainly don't want them looking at my bonus tracker. No. I figured out how to share with the parent just a piece of a page. And it's really hard to get it in there exactly. So what I do is I will make a copy of the last kid, and then I just have to change one piece, and I'll show you exactly what it is. Maybe, if it comes up. And then all I need to do each week is email the parent a link to this to remind them, hey, I've shared this with you. Go look at your grades are posted. So let's say, it doesn't matter. I'll just use this one. This is what the parent's going to see each week. And it is an exact piece. See that? It's the exact data from my grade book. all this populates as soon as I type it in. They get to go look at it. If you click right here in this weekly in this week cell, it's the very first cell. This I just typed in as a title. This is the first thing that comes from my sheet. Because week 10 through 18, I'm gonna change these numbers. So, you know, I may want that to populate or whatever. It's still working. It takes a minute because it's pulling all this from this other gradebook sheet. It's pulling it over here. Work harder, Google. All right. So look in this cell right here. That is what you have to do to get a range to pull over. This is the link to my gradebook. That's the link to the entire gradebook. But I want just a range imported, and I want it to be this sheet and this range. So let's note A6 to K26. So if we go over here, and they're all the same, A6 is this cell right here. K26 is right here. Now, your high schoolers, you're going to have to change your range because they don't do as much. So a high school student might just have 2 classes. So you might want to say A6 to, let's say their last class was in column 11. Maybe K11. Your middles, you know, they all pretty much do the same supplementals, but you can look at their grade sheet and say, okay, well, I don't have them in Prodigy, so I don't want them to see this top row. I don't want them to see this stuff below it because it's just going to confuse them. Make sure that your last cell is your lower right of your weekly progress. So for this kid, for John Doe, it is going to be A6 to A26, just like the one we just looked at. This name is the important part. So I'm going to say I'm going to rename it just because I figured out that's an easy way to copy it, and I don't have to type it. Because if you get a space wrong, it's not going to find it. So I just say I'm renaming so it'll highlight it, and I can Control C. Now, remember, let's get some grades in for Felix, for John Doe, not Felix. So I'm just making some stuff up real fast. There we go. Put him some numbers in there. 70, 80, 90, 100. Now, let's go over to Felix. Just pick any of your kids, because the thing is you don't want to have to keep retyping that monstrosity because it's difficult. It took me a long time to get it in there right. And whose is this? This is John Doe. John Doe. Now right now it's an identical copy of Felix. So right now if I share this with him, he's going to see Felix's grade. So I have to do something in that very first cell where it says week. Still loading. Takes a while. If I close Felix, it might help. If I keep clicking, I know that will help. Just click, 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 click. So remember on my clipboard I have the name of John Doe's sheet, and that's what I want right here. Is I want to put, stop it, just let me have this please, thank you. I want, and see the little quotation? Don't get rid of the quotation. And don't get rid of that little exclamation point. Leave the quotation in the front and that exclamation in. Now just do Control V. And it changed the name to be the right sheet. Because I want John Doe to have access to only A6 to K26 over there on his sheet only. For God's sakes, I don't want to give him access to someone else's grades. Hit enter and you should be good. Now if ever it says you got an error, you got to reload it, click reload, and you have to paste it in again. If you ever have to reload it, it did not take the change, and John Doe is still going to be seeing Felix's grade. So click back on that cell and make sure it says the right name. Now looky here, 70, 80, 90, 100. See that? Let's go delete them. So, Control C, Control V. Now, his snapshot should change, right? Here's John Doe. And let's refresh it. There we go. It's changed. Now what you need to do is say, this is the link not to your gradebook. This is the link to his snapshot. So you go over and you email it, hey, your grades are in, check them. And you just paste that link in your email right here. There's your grades. There's your report card. Click the link and you got it. You can also Google Voice text that. I don't know if you guys use Google Voice, but if you go right in here, that would be impossible to type in on your phone. Well, you might could do it, but I certainly can't. But I love the fact that I can text a message from Google Voice with my computer with the Control C, Control V. But you would just open a text message in Control V. And they can get it on their phone, and then Mom can check grades on her phone. And she doesn't have to go sit at a computer, because some of our mamas and daddies don't have computers. And that's totally fine. So that is how you can send your weekly gradebook. Now the key is you have to tell your parents how to read that sheet, because it's a little confusing. And I'm telling you, this has saved me so much time every single week in getting my grades done. Then when I go into Epicenter, and there was one more thing on the sheet, I know you saw it, and I'll go back and I'll show it to you. So, ooh, Lordy, I need some internet. I think I can just do right here. This is my text message. I was hoping it wouldn't make me pick a name. Good grief. Well, whenever I get a name in there, I'm just going to do Control V. There we go. There I can text that link, and I can say, here's John's grades this week. And then maybe I'll put it afterward. There you go. So there's the text message. Text of the grades. So much easier. And the important thing is, so I could take this. I have all my kids set up their own folder, but I could actually drop this in a shared folder, not necessarily in my drive. I would still want to send them the link every week and remind them to go look at it. But you can also share it with the mom, the dad. This would be great for kids that have separated parents. Everybody can look at the same grade sheet. And then they know where that grade in Epicenter is coming from. One more thing on my gradebook, I know you saw it, and I will show you what I do with it, are these yellow boxes at the top. So I don't think that the compass grade is really your English grade. I think the compass grade is probably a combination of everything that you're doing in ELA. So all your supplementals come into that. For me, there were 4 supplementals on that K through 8 grade sheet that we were using. So we had the reading eggs, the Success Maker reading, the Mayon, and the compass. So this number over on this sheet for their English grade was a combination of 4 things. So John Doe has 4 things contributing to this, and it never included Study Island. Well, Study Island, I've struggled with a way to figure that one out to actually get a grade in Study Island, and it's a combination of how many are done, how many are you supposed to have done, percentages and all that stuff to get your grade. So if I take this grade and I add it to the PK through 8 overall ELA grade and divide it by 5, that should be their English grade. You don't have to do that. You can figure out a grade all you want. So for this bottom column, their online grade or their other ELA grade, however you want to put it, put an equal sign. And let's go to John Doe's line on the PK through 8 grade sheet. So this is going to come in each week, so it's going to be changing each week. overall ELA grade for John Doe, click that cell, hit enter. Now, this and this, remember this is 4 things, this is 1. So if I add those up and divide by 5, things should be, no, that's not right. If you're going to add these up and divide by 5, you can't take this overall ELA grade because the ELA grade is going to be 1 item. So if you want everything weighted equally, you're going to have to say that this is a big total. So you're going to have to add up the 4 things. If you don't do it that way and you just take these 2, you're going to have to divide it by 2, and Study Island will be half their grade and all their supplementals will be half their grade. So Study Island will be weighted a little more heavily than everything else. If you want them weighted equally, you're going to have a big total right here in this box. Not an average, but all 4 grades added up. So this number would be a 400 if they had done everything. And this number would be 100 max. Then you would add them and divide by 5. That's going to weight every piece evenly. If I take that overall ELA grade and add it to the Study Island grade, that's going to make Study Island worth half of their grade. However you want to do it. Study Island is pretty important. That's where we decide if they're ready for a test or not. So I'm okay with it being half the grade, and that's what I usually do. So cell 31 and 32, see right here, B31 and B32, we're going to add it up and divide it by 2. So ELA grade, right here, equals. If you can't remember the numbers, put you a parenthesis, and then go down here, 31, click it, now do a plus sign, plus 32. See, it's still typing up here at the top. Parenthesis, divide it by 2, hit enter. Sometimes if this number, because one of those is a 0, so it's not going to work, but if this number is a 789, then that means you probably need to put in a divide by 100 at the end to make that decimal be in the right spot. If it comes out to be a .0789, you're going to have to adjust it because Sheets doesn't do the same thing every time. Okay, science grade, that is just going to come right from the PK through 8 grade sheet for science. Math, same thing. So math has an online. I did the math under the English. You guys probably caught that. And so math would be B31 plus B32 divided by 2. So equal sign, parenthesis, B31 plus B32. It doesn't matter if you have caps or not. And my English was actually in column D. So I could fix this, make this be a D and a D. Now I've got it linked right. There we go. And social studies just comes from over there. Writing grade is going to come from right here. You're going to have to put that in, whatever they do. So I'm going to say equals. And it's going to pop up from right there. Now, when you set those, I'll show you the science. So equals. Go click on PK through 8 and click on John Doe's science grade place. So here's the science. John Doe is row 7. Hit enter. And so if science was D7, social studies was E7. So you can actually copy that. It'll save you going and clicking. Don't put the equal sign in there yet. Make this be E. You see how it's actually putting the text in because I don't have an equal sign in front of it? That's what Sheets does. So the equal sign now will turn it into a formula, and it pulls from the sheet. This is what I look at in Epicenter. So this is what I'm entering in Epicenter. And I can actually just go, I keep these sheets at the bottom in alphabetical order. So when this kid is ready, he's set up, I'm going to drag him over to his place in line. You just click him with your left clicker and hold him down. And you can move him where you want him. Till you get him set up, it's real helpful to leave him over there by those grade sheets because you're clicking back and forth. And it's a pain to have to move these tabs forever. But now you can see alphabetically I can go through the tab, and right at the top I know the grade, so I can enter it into Epicenter real quick each week. So my high schoolers, they're not on that PK through 8th grade because they don't do supplementals that contribute to their grade. So my high schoolers, when I go and do theirs, this is a high schooler, I'm actually going to just type their stuff in for each, Play-Doh course. I'll just manually type them in each week. It doesn't pull from anywhere because the only reason I have it pulling is because it averages with all those supplementals. Now at the bottom of a high schooler in the template, every study island is already there. You never know if they're going to have Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, or English, or whatever, and some of them could have more than one. So on that blank high schooler template, it's all there at the bottom. And then you just have to do it just like the other one. You just delete the ones you don't need and so on. I hope that helps you. And I'm totally open to any questions if you need to ask them. Another thing I have at the bottom, I'll show you real fast, is my ACT test prep. And it's all 3, so it's right there. If you need to tell a student, this is what I need you to get done, you can just copy and paste to have them go into the boosters. So it's handy. This is, if you're making a schedule for a kid or giving them their assignments, it's just really helpful to have it right here. And then also there's a test prep tab. So let's just look at 5th grade test prep. Because I color-coded something on here that I would love to explain to you to help you out. See the red? That's because it's important. That's the biggest part of the test. I'm on the 5th grade test prep, and I'm looking at the English standard. That's where you need to hit it first. This is not the biggest portion of the test, or the yellow. And if you can get to this stuff at the bottom, great, because that's, look here, 12%. See language? Research is 12%. It's still a sizable number, but vocabulary 20. Critical reading and writing 24. And 32% of the test is reading and writing process. So that's the red one because it's the blueprint. It goes by the blueprint. Now the math, number and operations is almost half of the test for 5th graders. So that is the red stuff. You better make sure you do some test prep with the red stuff. And it's right there. Here's your OAS number. Here's the name of it. And there's, you need to get in there and get it done. Get into there, and there's the study island that matches up to it. So that will help you at test prep time. That was it. There's my whole grade book. I'll help you set yours up if you need it or whatever. And I hope this helps somebody else. I know it's a lot of setup to start with, but it has saved me so much headache and heartache on my grades. Have a great day.